Kia ora, ko Smith aho. Nā mai ki te whare, welcome to the House. Today, Parliament did something both unusual and important. Within a treaty settlement bill, it agreed that the peaks of Taranaki Maunga area will gain legal personhood under the name Te Kahui Tupua. This is the third time that a local geographical feature has been given this honour and legal protection. The other two are Te Awa Tupua, also known as the Whanganui River, and Te Urewera National Park. Mount Taranaki, though, is still Taranaki Maunga. The personal name Te Kahui Tupua refers both to that Maunga and a number of other related peaks. The bill that achieves this, and many other things, is Te Piri Whakatupua mō Te Kahui Tupua Taranaki Maunga Collective Redress Bill, and it had a third and final reading in Parliament today. In his speech, the Minister in charge, Paul Goldsmith, gave a very quick history of injustice around Taranaki Maunga.
Following the establishment of European settlements in the 1840s, the Crown began to purchase land in the Taranaki region, but Māori in Taranaki became concerned when the Crown began acquiring land from individuals or groups, often without the consent or knowledge of key leaders in the wider community. In 1860, the Crown used military forces to complete its purchase of the land in Waitara, which was the spark that led to wars between the Crown and Māori. In 1865, the Crown unfairly punished Māori by confiscating 1.2 million acres of Taranaki land, including the mountain. The Crown's breaches of Te Tiriti mean that an immense and compounding harm had been inflicted upon whānau hau Apu and iwi of Taranaki, causing immeasurable harm over many decades. During the century that followed, the Crown repeatedly ignored the rights and interests of tangata whenua of Taranaki in relation to their ancestral mountain. Following the confiscation, the Crown failed to create most of the reserves it promised. After further protests by Māori in Taranaki, the Crown returned some reserves but refused to include most of the mountains, instead proclaiming them as a forest reserve and later a national park. The Crown then established management regimes which ensured that trampers, skiers, hunters were involved in the park management, but made no such provision for tangata whenua. Traditional Māori practices associated with the mountains were banned, while tourism was promoted. Pests such as possums were introduced and led to destruction of the native forest in some parts. In the early 1870s, Taranaki Māori sought to become involved in the park management, to have the mountain's traditional name reinstated and to have ownership of the mountains returned. Some of the proposals were initially supported by government, then abandoned. Provisions for Māori involvement in the management of the Egmont National Park were eventually enacted in 1977, and in 1978 the Crown promoted legislation which returned Taranaki Maunga to the Taranaki Māori Trust Board, but immediately returned it to the Crown ownership for the purposes of a national park. The gift and the vest-back arrangements that were put in place by the Act were a source of grievance to many Taranaki Māori ever since. To address this, on the effective date of the bill, the Mount Egmont Vesting Act 1978 will also be repealed.
Labour MP Ginny Anderson noted that when she began working for the then Minister of Treaty Negotiations, Margaret Wilson, they were beginning negotiations with Taranaki iwi. That's nearly a quarter century ago. In each of 8 separate Taranaki iwi settlements, the issue of the mountain was set aside for later collective redress. It's been a long time coming.
Your resilience and determination remind us all that true justice requires more than recognition. It requires action, partnership, and an unwavering commitment to honouring who you are.
For Te Pāti Māori, Debbie Nārewa Paka, who's from the Taranaki, began with song.
Maunga Taranaki e tu mai rā, Maunga Taranaki e tu mai rā, Today Taranaki is freed from the shackles. It's freed from the shackles of Mururopatu. Today Taranaki, our Maunga tupuna, is released from the shackles of injustice, of ignorance, of hate. Today we also liberate with our aroha and our de-chaining and de-shackling. We also liberate the rest of Aotearoa in correcting this deep evil past and reminding the governments of today that our taonga are never yours to take or abuse. and that we will always have another generation to continue on the legacy of aroha and peace for all of Aotearoa. Today we affirm what we've always known: our maunga is and never was a Crown asset. It is our tupuna, living, breathing embodiment of our identity, our kawa, our tikanga, our wakapapa as Taranaki.
And later, after the speeches were finished, members of the various Taranaki iwi present in the gallery celebrated with their own song about the Maunga. You've been listening to The House at Te Whakaronga Koe ki te Whare. This program is produced with funding from Parliament's Office of the Clerk. Mā te wā.